The group arrives in Paris. Isabelle confronts her past while getting closer to Daryl. Padrone seeks help from the leader of a growing nationalist movement called Pouvoir, putting the Union of Hope and Laurent under dangerous scrutiny. You're with the Daryl Dixon Podcast. Hey guys!
Hello!
I got my spiffy little beret on today because
very Francais.
Yeah, Daryl looked a little ridiculous in this episode with his little scarf tied around his neck. So I had to outdo him.
Yeah, of course. I dyed my hair and it's not come out the color I wanted, but hey, what can you do? So we'll just move on.
I love the color.
Thank you very much. It's just great. Much darker than I anticipated, but hey, it's winter, so
yeah,
it's in the feel. I've got a bit witchy.
I like it. I actually really like this beret, but it's, I did it for Daryl.
Yeah. No, it does. It suits you. It looks good. It doesn't look ridiculous. Unlike a pair of suspenders and a nice little black scarf.
Where's the hat? Why isn't he wearing the hat yet?
Yeah, I want to see him in that black Stetson.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, come on. Like, does he, you know what? He put it on and he's like, Gabriel looks much better in this than I do.
Yeah.
And he just tossed his head.
I quite like his coat, though. I quite like his raincoat kind of thing.
Yeah, I do too. And fortunately, it covers up the suspenders, so that's good.
Yes.
So this episode is called Paris, Sera, toujours, Paris. The director is Tim Southam. He's actually directed some Walking Dead episodes before, I believe. He's also worked on Nosferatu, Bates Motel, a whole bunch of shit. He's got quite the resume. And written by David Zabel. What did you think of this episode overall, Dawn?
It was not my favorite of the series. We'll just say that. There are the bits that I expected to really hate, which is like the nightclub stuff, which I thought was going to be utterly ridiculous. I didn't hate that because I thought, no, you know what? The way they did it, it did look like a kind of nightclub that you would get in the apocalypse. 12 years after the apocalypse, these kind of things would start up again. I really enjoy Quinn. I think he's a very good actor, very interesting on screen. And then there's other stuff.
Yeah, that's about how I felt about it too.
Yeah. And I really love the new characters we're introduced to. Really like them. They're great. But all the stuff with Daryl and Isabelle, not so much.
It was, I was having deja vu.
Yeah. Some of those conversations feel very similar.
Yeah. I'm like, what are you guys trying to do here? What? Yeah, it was. We've seen this before.
Yes, we have. It really is a bit of a take us through the Daryl and Carol greatest hits.
Yeah. Or as I also referred to this episode as consumed in France.
Yes. But I will say, before everybody switches off in a huff, that there are more references, or what can be taken as references, I should say, to Carol in this than most other episodes. There are at least 3 Carol references. So it is a bit of a mixed bag in that sense. I don't know what the point of that is. Hopefully we'll find out later. But yeah. There are some good bits. There are some not good bits. And let's put it this way: Greg Nicotero was having a great time making this episode.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
God.
Excuse me. Yes, he really.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah. So certainly, yeah, heavy on the walkers this episode.
Yeah, for sure. So we start out, the group is riding into Angers. Isabelle says they can get help there to radio and get instructions on where to head next. And they pull up outside a building, and Daryl and Isabelle get out. They give Sylvie the gun to protect the horse. They go inside. It's an old theater. She says that her contact there is a musician who's been living in the theater for years. And the man comes out, and right away he seems, a little eccentric. But he's like trying to say that, he's trying to show off his limited English. He says a couple of random things like, I don't know, how are you today or something. And then he's like, where's Brian? Is he in the kitchen?
Yes. He was doing Duolingo when the world ended.
Yeah. He was really proud of the fact that he could say, where's Brian? Is he in the kitchen? But so it's so funny to me. Like, Daryl is obviously, we know that his whole purpose is trying to make it back home. But it's so funny to me because it's almost like a junkie trying to get their fix. It's like as soon as he runs into somebody new, immediately he's like, it's like, you have a radio?
Yeah.
And so the guy leads them to the room where the radio is, but surprise, surprise, it's not working. He used some of the parts for amplification. And he then asks them if they like Ravel. We hear Bolero start playing, and they follow him into the auditorium, and Daryl looks pissed.
Yeah. He's looking at the bits of radio that are, the cables that are all hanging, and he's like, ugh.
Yeah. He is not happy right now. He's just over everything. But they go in, and it's basically, if you've ever heard of the band Captured by Robots, this was Captured by Robots on crack. Have you ever heard of Captured by Robots, John?
I have, yes. Okay. Yes, I have.
So he's conducting a zombie orchestra, and they've got
obviously,
as one would do, as most people would do in the apocalypse. This was just weird. It was just like, I like weird and off the wall stuff, but this was just kind of overdoing it a little bit.
It was style over substance. It was like somebody went, you know what would be cool? And they went, yeah, let's just put that in. It doesn't matter if it works in terms of plot or anything. It's of no significance. They go in, they go, oh, okay, he's having a good time. Bye. And that's it. What was the point of that? Just so they could show this cool setup of all these walkers with horns coming out of their stomach and tied to drums, and no, that bit really annoyed me because it just was like, what was the point of that? You're just showing off.
If he was going to be a new character or something, then that would be different. But this was just, they basically just wanted to do something cool for the sake of it being cool. Yeah.
Let's fill 5 minutes with some cool things and spend half the budget. On some walkers. And then Greg Nicotero can get an Emmy nomination for special effects makeup. I mean, it had no purpose. It didn't, even if they'd built up to it longer, where it was like this guy, it was a real struggle to get to him, and then it was like, oh no. But it wasn't. It was just, we're here to see this guy. Oh well, let's go.
Yeah.
There was no dramatic climax to it. So and that.
Sure. But he's like, they leave, and Isabelle tells Daryl that Paris is too dangerous, and he's like, "It's dangerous everywhere. We did it your way, now we're doing it mine." And he insists that they're going to Paris, and nobody's going to argue.
No.
And that's the end of the cold open. And then they ride through a graveyard, and this was a really cool scene. I
Yeah.
liked this a lot.
This is a real graveyard, and it is significant for many artists, even more. Laurent mentions Proust, and I think it's Sylvia actually that mentions this other author, Jean de La Fontaine. But they mentioned some other. But there's lots of people that have been. But I think Oscar Wilde is buried there actually.
Oh, okay. Oh wow, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. He and he tells Daryl. Why don't you share your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So when
well, you can't say too much, I guess.
I can't say too much, okay, because it will spoil stuff later. Right. We have seen the whole season, so we know things. But I will just say, pay attention to what Laurent says, and I'm going to tell you what he says because I found it very hard to understand his accent. And just in this scene, normally he's fine. I don't know if it's just the audio, but he says this author wrote fables, and one of his most famous fables is Death and the Woodsman. And Laurent says, a weary woodsman who wants to die, but when death comes, he has a change of heart. He asks for help to carry his burden so he can keep on going. And I immediately thought, well, clearly there's some significance in that for them to, see the whole thing so clearly. So I will just say, pay attention to that. I think it is foreshadowing. I think it is significant. And you can have a guess what you think it is or what you think it means. But that's all I can say.
Yeah, and then Laurent notices the Eiffel Tower, signifying that
yes,
that showing the audience they're definitely in Paris. And they also see Jim Morrison's grave.
Yeah.
As they're walking, kind of like as they're walking around, they're going in and out of the cemetery and over a bridge, and Daryl sees painted on a car, Pouvoir de Vivant. And he says he keeps seeing that written everywhere. And Isabelle says it's a movement that started after the outbreak and mentions that most of the city is under control of Genet. They, as they're walking through the cemetery, they're stopped by a man and his group. And this was my MVP of the episode, Baloo, just because I just really liked him. He introduces his group, and he asks that, or Isabelle tells him that Perjean sent them, and he realizes that Laurent is the child that he had heard about, and Baloo tells Laurent that he's been waiting a long time to meet him. He takes them all to his location, which is a pretty big, bustling community.
Mm-hmm.
Daryl, the second they get there, Daryl's like, you gotta have a radio here, right?
Yeah.
And Baloo just completely ignores him, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
He's like, he's like, you gotta have a radio here, right? And Baloo's like, you hear that? It's the sound of Paris crying.
Here are our chefs.
Oh my gosh. And he shows them around, and he tells them that they just welcomed their 64th member, a baby girl. So it's a pretty big community. The young man, is that Emile?
Emile, yep.
Okay. He and Sylvie seem to be kind of taking a liking to each other, which is cute. And he asks if she always wanted to be a nun, and she says she never imagined anything else. And he says, well, you never came to Paris. It's a good place to imagine. I liked that. I liked
that too. Yeah, that was cute.
Baloo leads them to the garden, which has a good view of the Eiffel Tower. And Laurent immediately lets everybody know that Gustave Eiffel used 2.5 million rivets to build it.
I tell you, he's so neurodiverse coded.
Yes.
He's got his facts down.
Yep. I love it. Daryl asks about a radio again.
Yeah.
And Philou introduces them to Anton, who he says is their comms guy. And turns out they don't use a radio. They use homing pigeons.
Of course.
The look on Daryl's face.
He's like, really? That's what we're doing now, is it?
God. So yeah, he brings out their best pigeon, Zizou. And he said he sends him off to the nest. He sends Zizou off to the nest. And he mentions perhaps he has a girlfriend waiting for him back home. He's like, everyone has somebody back home waiting for them.
Yeah. That's a big line for Carlos, because that is, all through the series, and this is a spoiler to say this, all through the series they talk about people back home, family, people waiting for him. And this is the one time he says a person. I know it's not Daryl, but a person is referenced, and it is attached to the word girlfriend. And so that is putting Carol into, I say Carol very clearly because I say Carol the same. Carol into a romantic position. And it's clear that's what we're meant to think, because it zooms in on Daryl and he looks down sad and thoughtful. So I think that's a really big thing, to not just have Carol and Judith and RJ are all on the same level of significance, they're all waiting for him, whatever. No, there is a person waiting for him, and he refers to girlfriend. So I'm like, and the Carolers are going to run with that. And of course, pigeons mate for life. So that's
Yep, they sure do. Although a pigeon put me in the hospital for 3 weeks, so I'm not that fond of
wow. Them. Okay, no, well, we won't love pigeons that much. Oh dear.
That's a long story for another day.
Yeah, I'll enjoy hearing about that one.
Yeah. But which, by the way, Norman Reedus actually heard that story.
Wow.
Because he talked to my husband about it. Again, long story. I'm like going long story into long story here. But anyway, so they Philou says it should take a couple of days, and then Antoine's like, well, sometimes there's bad weather, and it's like, and Isabelle says he just said it might be a month.
Yeah.
Daryl's like, all right, I'm done. It's like, Nest will take you the rest of the way. I'm done. That's not gonna work. I'm out of here. And Philou's like, well, we meet with people who are trading all kinds of stuff. We can take you to them, but we need some currency. And Daryl tells Isabelle he'll steal something if he has to. And Isabelle's like, you don't have to. I know where we can get something. Some of the children are bringing Laurent gifts, apples and stuff like that. He sees a very sad looking woman sitting by herself, and he approaches her. Philou tells him that her name is Sonia and her husband died a few days ago, and no one's been able to console her. They look on as Laurent hugs her, and Philou says that Père was right. He's not just like, he can't just be some really sweet, empathetic kid. Yeah. He's the Messiah.
Yeah, because hugging a grieved widow, nobody knows how to do that except the Messiah.
Yeah, exactly. So elsewhere, Cadron is having a meeting with Janae. She asks him who he is, and he says that a few years ago, a traveler came through and spoke of a movement in Paris that would make the world right again. And he then gave him a tattoo and said he was now a warrior for Genet. Cadrone says that he tells her that he can get her what she wants, which is the American. And he immediately plays Daryl's tape that he took from the Abbey. He tells her that he'll prove his usefulness by finding him for her. She's looking a little suspicious, like, yeah, okay, I've heard this before. And then he says that he promised that his parents said he'd look after his brother, and the American made him a liar. And so that got her over on his side right away. So she hires him, and so then, this is where we start getting into Consumed Part 2 in France.
Yep.
Reboot. It's not so much the Consumed Part 2 as it is Consumed the French Reboot. Oh wait, no. First, no, I'm sorry. First, there's one thing that happens before that. They go into a lab, and there's a walker chained up.
There's a man with hair, which signifies mad professor. He's got mad professor hair, so we know who he is.
For sure. They've got a walker chained up on the walls, and like it's thrashing about wildly. It breaks the chains and then just flies into a wall and collapses. I'm kind of really confused as to what was happening here.
I think they are injecting them with something, which is they think will make them even more rabid.
That's what it seemed like.
Yeah, and it's not working. It's just making them explode, which means it's a little bit flawed, not working very well. Because obviously in the world beyond Coda, we saw a angry walker run at something. So I think that's what they're trying to recreate. Maybe there are some that are naturally like that, a variant that's like that, and they're trying to make them all like that. That's just a guess. I don't know. Science is not my specialty.
I don't even want to think about why they're trying to make these walkers more dangerous. It's a little scary. But so now comes the Consumed to the French Reboot. Daryl and Isabelle get to her apartment, and
of course her apartment is a beautiful, high ceilinged cornices with a view of Paris that's incredible. Okay then.
Yeah.
Her and her sister lived there, did they? Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's funny? Even before the rest of this scene unfolded, when they got to her apartment, it immediately felt reminiscent of when Carol and Daryl first walked into that shelter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was just like, Walking Dead has a tendency to do this, to repeat episodes, repeat storylines, and it's just maddening when it happens. So if you are like, new to the Walking Dead universe, you may have liked this scene a lot. I couldn't take it seriously. Yeah.
If you're somebody who's really interested in Daryl and Isabel's dynamic, you might enjoy it. But I have to be honest, I don't think a lot of people are. I mean, there are some people in the early reviews. There was a couple of reviewers who were really interested in it. But this is where we're learning, like as you say, like Carol in the shelter, Daryl's getting a sneak into Carol's past. He's getting to see who she is from her past. And that's exactly what this is doing with Isabelle. He's seeing her natural habitat. He picks up a book and looks at photos, and I'm just like, hello, she's right there.
Yeah.
How rude.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like, oh God, there's even a courtyard, it's just, it's all very weird how repetitive it is. But yeah, he finds some photos of her and Quinn, and Daryl tells her she upgraded with God.
That line really annoyed me, because not the line itself, because I thought that was quite funny that Daryl said that. But he says, "You upgraded," and she looks up and goes, "What?" Because she thinks he's saying him, I guess. And then he's like, "To God," and she's like, "Oh right, yeah," And I just thought, "Oh, do you have to? Must you really? Must we go down this aisle?"
She then shows Daryl a photo of Lily on her 16th birthday, and she said, Laurent's never seen her face, so she grabbed it for him. She grabbed some drugs and valuables from a box, and she tells Daryl, I wasn't always a nun. He's like, yeah, I could see that. So he's he comments on the view, and she starts talking about like a bar that was on the corner, and like when everything turned, like they only let artists and students and certain types of people stay.
That bit really irritated me. I realize I'm saying that a lot, but that whole thing, only artists and students and free thinkers, because we're going to rebring the world, make the world a better place, and
yeah,
it's so like trying to be Moulin Rouge or this idea of France that from like 1900, and it's like, no, it's 2010 it was, I just thought, what their idea of France in that is such a cliched version, artist, it's artist quarter, you're like, that's not what Paris is like. I mean, to be fair, I've never been there, but I just thought, it's so cliched. Sorry, carry on.
Oh no, I agree with you. But yeah, she said there was a lot of talk about reinventing the world, and Daryl says, "Well, at least you thought about it," and he said that he didn't do much thinking back then, and she said that he seems like someone who's always thinking, and he said, sometimes things just change you, or something like that, something to that effect.
Yeah.
And she then said, "Maybe you're the same, you and me, broken until the world ends." And he just kind of laughs at this.
I could hit someone for that line. I really could.
It's so annoying.
Why are they trying to make her like Carol Light? Nun Carol. Just can't she? She's Clemence Posey is a very accomplished actress. There's nothing. Give her something of her own. Give her her own. And there are moments of Isabelle that are her own character that are different. But saying a line like that just felt so like a rip-off of Daryl and Carol's dynamic, and as you say, what they were talking about in Consumed, and why?
Yeah,
it really feels like it's writing shorthand that they wanted us to think, to feel a connection between them, and they've done it in this very shorthand way by giving them this, we were both broken people,
Yeah.
Anyway, excuse me.
Why are you trying to make her Carol? Just she has a perfectly interesting storyline that you can give her. I mean, we already know some interesting things about her. Just like, it's so silly. I hate when they do this. It drives me nuts. And fortunately, The Walking Dead ended long enough ago that I can't even recall off the top of my head which storylines of theirs that they ripped off completely before in the past. But I know that this has happened quite a few times before. So it was annoying.
I mean, I'm trying to remember a specific line that Daryl and Carol both said that. I mean, Carol has said it a couple of times. I think she said, that it was like that for us both before the world turned. So there definitely is a very, very similar line, and it came from Carol. So
Yeah, for sure. So they head outside and they see Amy, the little girl from the last episode, who was on the scooter, and she's a walker now. So that's really sad. Suddenly walkers start falling out of windows. And as they get up, we realize that they're burners. They're all smoking, and Daryl ends up taking some of them out before they get out. Now this is the first time I kept hearing about people mention that when they were at the Abbey, Daryl grabbed a knife that looked just like Carol's, and this is the first time that I actually noticed it. Because I was looking for it before, and I was like, I didn't see it. This is the first time that I actually saw it. But there are people out there that are clearly much more eagle-eyed than myself. Why don't you take us the rest of the way from here? Because this is about the halfway point.
Okie doke. Okay. Daryl, I quite like this as a method of using the burner. Daryl used a burner walker because there was vines and stuff over the door, which was preventing them escaping this courtyard. So he pierced one of the burners and then pushed it against it so that the acid burned through the vines and they could escape. I quite like that. And they go and they're waiting in a place for to meet Laurent and Sylvie and Falou. And Daryl says, I'm sorry about the little girl, and she says, oh, I left her. So Falou turns up and says, I'm going to take you to this place. We know contacts, and they go. I think it's like a railway tunnel they go through, and there's a guy sitting there. They have to hand over all their weapons. They go in a freezer. Excuse me. Of course they do. They go in a freezer. And they go underground, and then they're going through the catacombs. And Falou, Daryl says, what is this place? And Daryl says, Falou says, this is the catacombs. This is when the Black Death was. And then he says, the USA is just an infant. France has been through many apocalypses, and we'll get through this. I really love Falou. He's like a philosopher kind of guy. Yeah. He's very, very charming and very holds your attention a lot.
I like him.
So they go through the catacombs and they come out into a nightclub. And this is when filming was happening, and there was, Norman had posted pictures and stuff of filming, and everybody was like, and I include myself, a nightclub? What? They're definitely doing Moulin Rouge here.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So, but it works when I watched it, when you see it. It is believable. The first things that people search out for once humanity has reached a certain baseline is drink and sex, Yeah. So they go to a nightclub and there's all these circus performers and there's somebody playing piano. They're all drinking champagne. And there's a beautiful woman singing in French. I don't know what she was singing. I tried to figure out what she was singing and I couldn't.
Yeah. Did you
and
oh, sorry. Do you did you watch True Blood?
I watched the first 2 seasons, I think, of True Blood.
Oh, okay. The reason I asked is this woman to me looked so much like there's a character in True Blood, but I don't think she comes along until later, named Lorena, who this woman looked so much like. And I was like, is that the actress that plays Lorena? No, that can't be the same person, but it's not. But it really struck me immediately how much she looked like her. I know. Sorry, that was Elle.
Yeah, that's good. That's it. Yeah, our name is Anna. She she's singing, and there's performances, and in one corner we see there are some very, very rare and expensive paintings, including Monet's the water lilies. And Isabelle says she would go to the art museum every week to see that, and that was her favourite. And Daryl says, "Oh yeah, I like that. It reminds me of home." And a lot of people are saying that's the pond where Daryl took Carol to apologise in season 2 with the Cherokee Roses, and there was a pond like that.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
And he stands and looks at it for a good couple of minutes after Isabelle walks away. And they meet these guys who are going to do some deal with them. They seem to think it's quite amusing that Daryl wants to go back to America. Of course, that's it's easy in the apocalypse. And while they're negotiating, Laurent befriends the singer Anna, and tells her she's beautiful and she sings beautifully, and he shows her the photograph of his mother, and he'd never been to Paris, and she gives him her Eiffel Tower necklace, and as a sort of good luck charm, which is really sweet. And Laurent is overjoyed. And while they're negotiating, Isabelle shows her bag full of drugs and goods, because obviously drugs are huge things. Everybody wants drugs. Huge value. And but Daryl starts looking around, and he sees that there are guys all nodding to each other with their hands ready on a weapon. So he's like, nah, we're leaving. This is not. There's something not right here. And a fight breaks out, because everywhere Daryl goes, a fight breaks out.
Yep.
And who should turn up to break up the fight but Quinn, Isabelle's ex, and who she had left at the point of the apocalypse. Turns out this is his nightclub. He's the boss. He chastises the guys for fighting, and he's like, "Hey, it's Isabelle. Hey, nice to see you." And it's not at all awkward.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and yeah, it was a really a moment where it's like Isabelle is confronted by everything from the past that she has not told Laurent, because of course Laurent said that his father was in the Foreign Legion and earned a medal and things. Here we turn out this is Laurent's father. Quinn is Laurent's father. Isabelle did not know this, or at least claims she didn't know this. I think she didn't. And he had obviously had a relationship with her sister, and he's Laurent's father. He also makes clear he's the one who saved Isabelle from suicide when she'd attempted it. And it's a kind of, a threatening way, like kind of you owe me sort of thing. He says, what are you wanting? And she says, I want to help my friend get home. But Daryl's like, no, I don't need a boat this bad. You can tell that there's dodginess going on, and Quinn's like, oh no, you don't need to pay me. I'll, So Daryl says, Isabelle saying to him, there was things I didn't want to confront from my past. I didn't want to look at this. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to tell Laurent about it. And Daryl's like, we've all got stuff from our past that we're running from. And Sylvie and Laurent have gone onto the roof where they have a like set up similar to where they had the Fallujah's base. There's scaffolding and beds, and people are living there. So Sylvie and Laurent are there, And Sylvie's tucking Laurent into bed, and she says to Laurent, "You gave them hope today when he comforted Sonia, and tells him to go to sleep." Meanwhile, Daryl is packing his things. He's hitting the high road. He's going. He's like, "Yeah, this is, I'm done with all these people keeping secrets. I'm not interested." And she is saying to him, "Look, this is where she says another Carol line."
Yeah.
She says to Daryl, "I don't need a hero.
Oh God.
I never did." And you're like, ah!
So annoying.
Tell me your thoughts on that.
Oh my God. I was so annoyed. That line annoyed the absolute crap out of me. So I'm like, you come up with original stuff, please. I don't know. Like, okay. I mean, if for those who might not remember, Daryl and Carol had a huge fight back in season 10. And basically, like, he was mad at her because she kept running off, and she was mad at him, and because he just, like, he felt like he needed to go running after everybody and take on everybody's problems and be the hero all the time. And she's like, I don't need a hero. I don't need saving. I just need a friend. And it's just, it's really annoying. So yeah,
especially when the whole reason Daryl is there is because Isabelle needs a hero to take Laurent where they're going. So it makes no sense at all.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But yeah, it was it was the next part that really that annoyed me, not because of the lack of originality, but just annoyed me with Isabelle. This is the first time I got really annoyed with Isabelle.
Yeah, when they're having their when they're having their argument, one of the things Isabelle says to Daryl is, I was trying to help you keep your promise because that's all you care about, isn't it? Like, she's really angry at him. Of course, that's all he cares about. He's the stranger who's turned up in France and he wants to go home. Why is that a bad thing? He wants to go home. Why are you angry at him? You have put this on him that he's to do this mission of protecting Laurent and delivering him. No one said he had to care and make that his life. Of course, he has something else he cares about, and the fact she's railing at him for still caring about getting home is just so bizarre. I'm assuming we're meant to like Isabelle and we're meant to care about her. And when she says stuff like that, I'm like, nah, she's done.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically an indentured servant, and it's like, she's saying it's like it's like saying that to an indentured servant. Oh, the only thing you care about is getting citizenship, or yeah, must care about you, like,
we made a deal. I'm keeping my end of the deal. I will, I'm delivering Laurent, but that's all I ever said I would do. Why are you expecting something else of me?
Yeah. It's so annoying. It's like a doctor saying, oh yeah, the only thing you care about is getting better, right? Huh? Yes, please.
Or it's like it's like if you started dating somebody and they said, "Look, I'm not looking for a commitment. I'm not into a relationship. This is just something casual." And then you go, "What? You don't want to marry me?" 6 months down the line, you're like, "Yeah, I was pretty clear about it."
Oh my God. So annoying.
Yeah. We're very annoyed about this episode.
I really
and
like
Daryl's
myself.
saying to her, "Look, you don't need me. You've got all these people. You found." He says, "You don't need me. You've got all these people." She's met Falou and his group. They all believe in Laurent. They can, and they've got the skills and the weapons and everything. They can protect him and take him. But she's like, no, no, no. And they have this argument. And she's like, well, Laurent will be sad to see you go. And Daryl is shouting at her as well about the fact that she's putting all this pressure on Laurent. Why can't you just let him be a normal kid? Why do you have to put all this stuff on him? And B, that she's lying to him and not telling him the truth of his birth. And of course, Laurent hears all of this because that's what children in Walking Dead do: get up out of bed and go and listen to things they shouldn't. So he screams, "I hate you all! I hate you both!" and runs away. And at that point, Codron and his men have shown up at the nightclub. And Quinn's like, "Hey, I've got an agreement with Madame Genet. She's not going to do anything." But of course, they're looking for the American. So they come up onto the roof. And at that point, all hell breaks loose, guns flying. Daryl shouts to Isabelle, "You go get Laurent, and I'll meet you back at your apartment." And then there is a big rooftop fight with some parkour, Daryl parkour, running in the rain, running and fighting.
Yeah.
And eventually Daryl does fight Codron, nearly kills him, but doesn't. And he escapes. And he's standing on a rooftop, and the rooftop collapses. And that is the end of that episode.
Yeah, we've there's been no shortage of roof collapses in The Walking Dead either. That is a
No.
they really like to pull that one out. But the whole like Daryl running across the rooftops, I couldn't help but think of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles the whole time.
Love that.
I was singing the theme song in my head as he's running across the roof. Daryl's like running from Cadrona. I'm like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I wanted someone to just give me pizza afterward.
Oh dear.
But this just not my favorite episode, Just kind of a bummer of an episode. I liked
Yeah. They're just
I liked the first two. I liked the first two episodes. This one was kind of
it's just
annoying.
It's just too many callbacks to Carol in not a satisfying way, in a way that's just like a rip-off kind of way rather than a homage. I did love the pigeon bit. I loved the painting and as I say the nightclub. I have to say, beautiful drag queen, but where is she getting makeup in the apocalypse 12 years down the line? That stuff goes off after 2 years.
Yeah, I don't know. Beats me.
Yeah.
Beats me.
Maybelline post-apocalyptic or
Yeah. They raided the last drugstore of all the makeup.
Yeah.
They raided all the drugstores. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think we are gonna see the nightclub again. Right? Yeah, we are gonna see the nightclub again in an upcoming episode. So we're not totally done with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I am Falou is, I think, as far as characters that I think we're gonna see again, Falou is my favorite. I really like him.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So I hope I hope we get a lot more of him. I hope he's a regular character from here on out. He just I like him. I like the actor. So I'm looking forward to that. And I really just want them to make Isabelle her own person and not like try to, shoehorn her into a role. Um it's just it, it's not fair to the characters, it's not fair to the actors. It's just and it's really annoying for the viewers.
Yeah.
Um so
Es-
it's
especially especially the viewers who are watching this show and had been hoping for the Daryl and Carol show. And,
yeah.
they were told that was going to happen and then it doesn't. So you've got that disappointment anyway, and then it's like rubbing it in your face. Carol's not here, but here, have a French alternative.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh man. Um but yeah, it's hopefully the rest of the season will I'm interested to see how this episode goes over with the general viewers, with the with the regular the
Mm-hmm.
general audience. Um it's I mean, I think it's probably my least favorite of the season. Um and it's just
Yeah.
there was just I mean, between the comparisons to between the redone storylines and the over the top stuff with the Walker Orchestra, it was just
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I thought it was kind of a messy episode. Just just kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
But I did think I did think that that Sylvie and Emil were cute. So I like that they, kind of gave her a little temporary love interest there.
Yeah.
Um, however long it lasts. Um, but that was really sweet. That was sweet. And it
I
kind of reinforces Daryl's point that, like maybe he's just a regular kid who just got lucky and survived. Um, he's
mhm.
just a little more empathetic than most, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
think I wish we were getting more of Sylvie. I think she's a really interesting character, and her and Laurent are really cute together, brother sister relationship, and I wish there was more of her. I could
yeah.
definitely have done with more of her in this episode.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I really liked that she had a little love interest there. Um Now, one thing I want to do this week, well, actually, before we get to this, let's go over our. I already mentioned that my MVP was Faloo, but my LVP, I did not. I did not mention yet. I was having trouble with that, but there were a lot of bad guys in this episode, and I couldn't really decide. So I'm just giving the LVP to Daryl Scarf. So that's my LVP, Daryl Scarf.
Very
What
deserved.
yeah, yeah, so Faloo MVP, Scarf LVP. What about you, Don?
Yeah, my MVP is Anton the pigeon guy, or maybe just Zazu the pigeon, number one
There you go.
pigeon, getting his job done, but going about town, checking out his girlfriend first, and then showing up a month later. Good guy.
Yeah.
Um, and my LVP is weird musician whose name I didn't catch if they said it. And his Keith is in the kitchen. Um,
Yeah.
because poor guy. I mean, I do feel a bit sorry for him. Turn up. Hello. I'm not all there. I'm not handling the apocalypse well. Yeah. And his pointless orchestra that had no reason other than we need to fill a cold open. What we do. So yeah, he's my loser, and there was lots of walkers. His music attracted lots of walkers, so not a smart move in any form. So he's
Yeah,
my LVP.
gotcha. Good choice. Um, so one thing that we've been doing is posting, I do this for some of our other shows as well. Um, we like to post like these little teasers, which I named Clueful Quickies since it's like, Cyborg Queen Clueful Quickies.
Very
It's
good.
same initials. But basically, if you follow us if you're not following us on social media already, please do so. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Cyborg Queen Media. We are on Twitter at Cyborg Queen TV, but I don't know how much longer we're going to be on Twitter because it's a cesspool that Elon Musk wants to start charging everybody to swim in. So I'm not quite sure how much longer we're going to be on there. But follow us. We post quotes every week from the upcoming episode. I include just very non-spoilery quotes along with like little random objects that are in the that are found throughout the episode. And so these are just some of the ones that we've got for this week's. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not going to show you next week's quotes because I can't get them loaded in time and I don't want to oh wait, never mind. I lied. All right, sorry about that. It took me a minute to find them. But yeah, so follow us on social media and you will get these every week for the upcoming episode. It's just a fun little way to tease the episodes without spoiling anything. But I'm going to also bring them up on the show too. And if you take a stab as to what you think the context is, like who says it, and what your guess is as to context, we will we'll read some of the guesses on the show. So the next episode is called La Dame de Fer, which translates to the Iron Lady. The first one is a threat to one of us is a threat to all of us, with a photo of a cello. Now the photos, the images and the quotes don't go together. Occasionally they might, but they're just random. I want you where you're the happiest, with a pigeon. I'm not telling you shit, with Mike. Women need a damn good reason to come back, with the Statue of Liberty. And I made all that shit up, with a piece of candy. That was actually the context of that one was pretty funny.
Yes.
I liked that. But so yeah, so take a guess in the comments. Let us know, what how you think those are used in the episode. If you're spot on, and if I know for a fact that you're not getting screeners, no Twitter, then we might send you a little something. But make sure you tune in on Sunday for the after party. Immediately following, we do this after every brand new episode. Dawn will not be with us for most of them because it's 4 a.m.
Yep.
For her at that time. But Pamela, my co-host from most of my other podcasts, will be joining me for those. But Dawn will be joining us for the finale one.
Yes.
So we're gonna make it a pajama party. So wear your PJs. That is it for this week. Let us know what you thought of the episode. If you would be so kind as to stop by and give us 5 stars if you're enjoying the podcast, that would be lovely. We would love you forever for that. And do all the YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, all that jazz. And before we fly out of here, Dawn, did you have any other thoughts or anything that you wanted to add?
No, I don't think so. Just apologies for the delays. We don't know the technology, the distance between Europe and America seems very far this week. So I'm blaming the show for that. But hey, we're at the halfway point. We're past the 3 episodes. We've got 3 episodes left.
Yep.
Things are going to start, heating up towards the finale, and that's interesting viewing.
Yeah, definitely. So we're definitely looking forward to some of the stuff coming up, and we hope that we hope that you'll enjoy it as much as we did when we watched it. And we can't wait to talk all about it. So make sure you come back and hang with us, and we'll see you guys real soon.